All righty, good Thursday afternoon to you. Welcome in the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Good to have you along each and every day, Monday through Friday. We broadcast live here from our studios at Burke Lakefront Airport. You can follow us, the Chico Borman Show, on Twitter. Stream us live at Chico Show, CLE. Also, head over to YouTube if you're not already. Subscribe there, the Chico Borman Show. And now, wherever you get your podcasts, you can download and listen that way. And we also stream live on the iHeart Radio app. So no excuses anymore. Plenty of options, plenty of opportunities to one and all listen in to the Chico Borman Show. And Mr. Bombastic is here as well. Michael Bohm. We were actually, as we normally do, solving very important world issues. I didn't realize that "Let's Get It Up" is an AC/DC song, and I like AC/DC. I'm not familiar. Maybe I am, and I just can't think of it. But
Chico, I was an AC/DC super fan, so. Actually, I won tickets to an AC/DC concert one time.
I would love to see AC/DC in concert. I would love to see them in concert.
I've seen them twice. Yeah, they're incredible. I mean, Angus Young is the reason that I started playing guitar. But
I think, now wait a minute, Bohm. I think you have a few. I want to say I've heard you say 3 or 4 different people the reason you play guitar.
No, Chico, I have many different influences throughout my years of experience with music.
Okay.
That being said, it all began with Angus Young. I wanted to be him.
Are you ready?
Yeah, like the duck walking, like all of his moves, I got him down. I learned them all. And I even own a Gibson SG because of him. I'm a Gibson guy. I love playing Gibson guitars because of him. Yeah, Angus Young is where it all began for me. But I won tickets to one of their concerts on the radio, right? I called in. And the contest was name the drummer for that AC/DC song because they've had many drummers, right? So I named 5 songs. I got them all right. They even threw a real curveball at me with a song that was featured in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
Because that was a drummer that was on that Are You Ready album, The Razor's Edge, but he was only there for that and that movie song. So, yeah.
How old were you when you won the concert tickets?
I remember I won them while at a friend's house when Ohio State was playing USC. So this had to be like
mid-2000s?
Yeah, close to probably right around 2010, a little bit before that, like
okay,
08-ish.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
now that you mention that, and we've got plenty to get to, including a little fantasy football with our buddy Eric Asilius coming up at 12:15. But I once called into. I was telling this story about. Back in the day, the station that was very popular when I was a kid growing up in Northeast Ohio was Power 108 here in Cleveland. And I remember calling in to win, but I didn't know. Like, I was so enamored with radio then. I remember calling in. I didn't know what the prize was. And I was like 14, but I kind of had a deep voice even then, like at 14. So, like, the guy assumed that I was, 21, and he's like, all right, so you're 21, right? I'm like, no. He's like, well, how old are you? I go, 14. He goes, you realize that these are for backstage or something, whatever, at Peabody's Down Under. He goes, that's a bar. And I said, well, I didn't know that. and he's like, yeah. So then I think in exchange, he gave me tickets to a Bengals concert. Bangles.
Hey, the Bengals aren't bad. Walk like an Egyptian.
And I think I thought it was really cool when everybody held up their lighter for eternal flame. Is this burning an eternal flame?
Now, these days, Chico, it would
Yes.
just be phone lights.
Yeah, you're right. Just phone lights. All right, anyway. Hey, welcome again into the Chico Borman Show on this Thursday. It is great to have you along. We get closer and closer to the Monday Night Football, the matchup, the Browns and the Steelers. Folks, and Bohm, you're included in folks when I say folks. Do you know the last time the Browns started 2-0?
1993.
30 years ago. 30 years. Like, that is mind-boggling. I mean, again, we go through these numbers all the time, and it's a good thing now because, the Browns are much better, roster-wise have been much better over the last, 4 or 5 years. So, you get into these numbers, and it's fun to get into these numbers, but it's also astonishing and sad at the same time. I mean, the last time they won at Heinz Field was 2003. Folks, it's 2023 right now. But anyway, we won't bore you with these statistics. All we'll do is tell you that a huge matchup coming up on Monday. And I feel like a lot of people across the country, and I guess I understand this, but at the same time, and I don't know if it's me being a homer or not, like a lot of people around the country feel like, oh, the Steelers, there's no way they're going to start 0-2. And I get it. Mike Tomlin, great coach. But, the Steelers right now are not a very good again, 1 week in, but judging on what we saw in week 1, it's only 1 week. And, yes, you can say it's an overreaction. It's what we do after 1 week. It's what we do every week. But, they couldn't block anybody. They couldn't stop any sort of pass rush. 5 sacks. 10 times Kenny Pickett was hit. And he was he was absolutely harassed all day long. And so I understand when people say, and oh, by the way, Cam Hayward's not going to play in this game. Deontay Johnson, their top wide receiver, I think one of the most underrated receivers in the game, is not going to play in this game. And this is not me taking Pittsburgh lightly, because I'm the one that is, if anything, hey, you don't do that with the Steelers. But I'm just kind of surprised how, nationally, and maybe this is just part of the process with the Browns, again, where they have to continue to prove it week in and week out. And 1 week, albeit a very impressive 24-3 victory over Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, people are just not ready to. And this is going to be tough. This is going to be a hostile environment. Everything that we know, everything that we hear about, yes, the Steelers are going to be ticked off, and the Steelers are, are 0-1. They played like crap. Mike Tomlin's a great. Yeah, I get all of that. But this Browns team is pretty damn good. And I get the feeling, I don't know. I get the feeling if they can beat the Steelers on Monday night, and they are, I think, 2-point favorites. And by the way, first time the Browns are favored in Pittsburgh, the numbers just keep on coming. I can't stop them. First time the Browns are favored in Pittsburgh since 1989. I remember that game. 51-0, a drubbing of the Steelers by the Browns. 89 was also the same year that the Browns that season beat the Buffalo Bills. that historic, to this day, the best football game I've ever been to, Browns-Bills in the divisional round. That's how long ago it was the Browns were favored in Pittsburgh. But, Bohm, I feel really, really good going into this game. Like, I am the type, as people know, and I get heat on this. I'm the type of person that, I'm a little nervous and I'm a little, Pittsburgh. I just feel like that offensive line. Now, the Browns and Deshaun Watson, they're going to be feeling some heat as well, because T.J. Watt and Alonzo Highsmith, that's a good defense, and they're reeling a bit. But you can only put lipstick on a pig for so long. And that's essentially what you're doing with that offensive line for Pittsburgh. Like, they are really bad. And then on top of it, you've got a quarterback who maybe he does take that leap this year in his second season as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's got a ways to go. And if he thought it was bad against San Francisco, I think he's got even more to be fearful for coming up Monday night against the Browns. And that's all I'll say.
Chico, they literally had the last ranked offensive tackle in all of football in week 1.
You stole mine from yesterday. You like that.
Yeah, you pointed that out. Credit to you, Chico. But
I'm not looking. But yeah, I know you liked that. I liked it too. I couldn't believe it.
I love that
75 out of 75.
I love that matchup, Chico. Now, I think the Browns are going to be tested in a lot of ways in which they weren't in week 1 against that Bengals defensive front. And I'm hoping the conditions are not going to be as bad. That's one thing that we really can't control. But then also, I think the secondary is a step up. Not having Cam Hayward is going to be, beneficial for the Browns in this one as well.
He's a big-time player.
Yeah, but I think the Browns have a lot to prove here in week 2. Like, we need to see that they can do it against more teams than just a team that they have recently dominated in the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and of the two, the favorite going in is, of course, the Bengals. And as far as the AFC North, as far as the AFC as a whole, all of that. But I feel like, the Browns, and I think for that's why this whole national sentiment to me is fascinating. Because again, like, we have to remember, I told fans this going in, that the Browns are not going to be a team that people either want to root for or will root for or will give the benefit of the doubt to. Whether that's because they've had high expectations and they haven't been able to make good on those, or because they're not very well liked nationally because of, in many cases, Deshaun Watson. Fair or unfair, that's just the way it is. So nationally, I'm just, in the lead up to this game on Monday night, it seems like a lot of folks are saying, especially with the Steelers as underdogs at home, and it is surprising. Like, I'm not going to, first time since '89, and yeah, it's a big deal. It speaks to many things, the history, everything, but it's like everybody that I am hearing and reading and things of that nature, all of those folks are kind of saying the same thing. Like, man, you got to jump all over this. The Steelers are getting 2. I'll take that all day. I get it, but I also think that, like, now on national television, you're right. The Browns have something to prove. 2-0 doesn't mean that they're going to the playoffs, but 2-0 for the first time in 30 years and all of that. 2-0 is going to be a huge statement. It's going to be a huge statement for the guys in that locker room. You've got Tennessee after that. You've got Baltimore after that. But I have a feeling that will be, and maybe this is how it happens. Because, as I said, the Browns are not popular amongst others in the country. And for those that say they don't care, I know you're lying. Because a lot of people do care, whether it be power ratings. Okay, EK, Eric Casillas had an emergency, and he is unable to join us.
Plot twist.
Womp, womp, womp. All right. Yeah, I was going to say, usually he's in there about 12:08.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about
For a
that.
12:15, he's getting his hair ready and his makeup. He just said, I apologize, emergency, I'll explain later. So we hope everything's okay.
And EK will make it up to us.
Yeah, he's usually he's a guy, and he genuinely, like, he tells me this. He genuinely feels bad when he has to miss.
That's a real one right there.
Now, he is, I will say this about EK. He can be a guy that is very, very tough to track down. I've said this before. Very tough to track down. If for no other reason, like, I don't think he really checks his phone, and then, like, you can't leave a voicemail for him. If you leave a voicemail, well, you can't. Forget about it. You can't leave a voicemail because it always says the mailbox is full, and he's told me that he does that on purpose. I said, you never cleared? He goes, no, I don't want anybody leaving me a voicemail. I go, then why even have the greeting that says, hi, you've reached Eric Casillas, leave me a voicemail? He's like, well, I feel like that's the polite thing to do. Oh, but then the to follow the polite thing to do is also just, well, it's full. I'm never going to check it, so screw you. So.
EK is a brilliant man, but brilliant people have their quirks.
They do. Yeah, he has a few quirks. He definitely has a few quirks. But anyway.
That's part of what makes him so great.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't be doing fantasy football today. Mate, hang on.
Let's just talk about our leagues. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we won't do that.
Last thing we're going to do.
Okay. He says he may be able to join in the 1 o'clock hour. So I guess
the suspense is building.
I guess we're just hanging out waiting, but that's okay. We've got plenty to talk about. 216-626-7901. And I guess if you do want to talk some fantasy football, because there is a game tonight, the Vikings and the Eagles, we can do that. But I don't know. I just, like, part of me feels like I'm going down that road, like, because everybody says, oh, don't fall into that trap, Chico, where you're buying in to the Browns. It's a dangerous one. I'm usually that guy that doesn't do that, but I feel like there is a lot of reason, not just heart, head, telling me this is a really, really good football team that's only going to get better. Yes, they're going to have some bad moments. You hope it's not Monday night, but the talent's there. We've known the talent's there.
Chico, they were hitting on all cylinders with the exception of Jedrick Wills and Deshaun Watson. Because everyone else, it felt like you were getting 100% like the best, reaching their potential and maximizing it, right? With Deshaun, you saw him missing a lot of throws, couple of wide receiver drops that I'll excuse him for. And I'll also give him the benefit of the doubt because of the weather. We saw Joe Burrow struggle, and so I think it's unfair to fully criticize Deshaun in those conditions. That being said, there's still a lot that he needs to show. We had very high expectations for him to come out right out of the gate elite. And he had a number of wide open receivers. Now, I love how much they were throwing down the field despite those conditions. And I have to wonder, if they aren't so adverse, are they going to push it downfield more aggressively even more often? But this offense looks really exciting. And obviously, as we've said, the secondary is, I feel like, a step up from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh. But they were getting open consistently, Chico. Like this, yeah. There's a lot of potential to reach in this offense. I
feel like I don't want to, like you want to take your chances. Minkah Fitzpatrick is an absolute stud, and I don't want to, like, that guy is great safeties and great ball hawk safeties. I mean, obviously they're very talented, but they're also very good at baiting you. That's one of the reasons they get a lot of picks, and they are ball hawkers, is because they bait you, they make you think and then you're not. Okay, so you mentioned my biggest concern, and we'll talk about this again. For those of you tuning in, and we were supposed to have Eric Casillas. As of right now, we're not going to have him this hour. Maybe next hour, I don't know. But we've got plenty to discuss. That's fine. You mentioned his name, Jed Wills. I think I am more concerned about Jed Wills than I am DeJuan Jones. I
totally fair.
I hope because we're all rooting for this guy. Like, he seems like a good dude. But whether it's injuries, and of course he had x-rays after the game and they were negative and he'll play. But I just, if there's one thing that I can anticipate, or I shouldn't say anticipate, or I can see happening as far as how the Browns lose the game, it's Deshaun Watson gets beaten up. Like, I think the Browns, I think this is definitely going to be your classic. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. It's going to be, taking care of the football is going to be absolutely paramount. I know it is every single game, but it's going to be very much so in this game. But, like, and Jed Wills on that blind side just scares the living daylights out of me.
Chico, Deshaun took some shots in week 1, and I have to wonder, is that level of like what he has to endure, is that sustainable for 17 games plus a postseason? And I am a little concerned about that. That's a thought that lingers in my mind every time he takes that amount of contact.
And here's the other thing with Deshaun Watson, all right? He is, and I think it's fair to say, and Nick Shook, we had our debut edition of the Bold Bald Breakdown on Tuesday, and he was adamant. Like, he's by no means close to where he needs to be or wants to be, and hopefully will be when we're talking about hopefully him getting back to his 2020 days with the Houston Texans. Maybe he doesn't get there. Hopefully he gets as close as possible. But the one thing that concerns me, and I think we saw it on Sunday, is when he's going downfield or trying to go downfield, as soon as he senses anything, his eyes drop and he's ready to flee the pocket. Nick was talking about that. Well, the only way that you're gonna feel better about that is to trust the guys up front and to trust your protection. Now, again, he's got to do better in terms of keeping his eyes downfield and all of that sort of thing. But, like, I don't want to give Deshaun Watson any more reason to be fleeing the pocket. And, yeah, I know he can run, and he displayed that on Sunday, and that's all well and good. I want my quarterback to be able to run around and extend plays, and everything breaks down and he's able to get a first down. That is a big, big deal. I am really, really concerned. As much as I say that I'm confident, and I am on Monday night, I am really concerned about the tackles, but it's really not. DeJuan Jones, sure, he's going to have some. He's gonna make some mistakes in that game. Pretty much they all are. But I think I'm more concerned about Jed Wills than I am DeJuan Jones. And I want to get to a point where I trust Jed Wills. I don't know if I'm going to get there. And this is a do or die year for him. If he plays well this year, he's going to get paid. And so it's either like he's going to sink or he's going to swim. If he swims, he's swimming in dollar bills. If he sinks, it ain't going to happen. Like, he had the fifth year picked up. We expected that. But make no mistake, like, they are saying to him, okay, look, if you want to be paid like one of the top tackles, and, oh, by the way, this isn't the running back position. If you're a top left tackle, you will get that payday. It's right there for him. Is he going to take it? And I don't know. Joe Thomas has talked about this with him. He's like, look, he's talented enough, but sometimes it's just being able to forget that last play. And it much easier said than done. I get it. But, like, I worry about that with Jedrick Wills. If he gives up an early sack in that game, I'm worried about him. Really, really worried about him the rest of the game. And you say, well, you're going to give him help. You're going to be chipping guys. And yeah, well, you're going to be also having to do that and wanting to do that on the right side because of DeJuan Jones. So that is going to be an area where that's the name of the game. Where do you excel? Where are you deficient? And we're going to try to exploit the hell out of those deficiencies. Well, going into this game, the Browns don't have many, but right now they do at the tackle position. And like I said, I don't think it's as much maybe DeJuan Jones on the right side as much as it is Jedrick Wills on the left side, and that scares the living hell out of me. I don't know.
I'm with you, Chico. I was very high on that Jed Wills pick when the Browns made it.
Yeah, I was too. I admit I was too.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that he hasn't totally lived up to expectations, although he's flashed. I think he's had moments where he's been solid. But there's also questions about like effort off the field that I think we've heard on numerous occasions in terms of like how much time he's putting in on the practice field. You see it after plays when he just he does things that come off a little bit lazily. So do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, yeah,
it feels like he might end this play before the whistle, or the way that he might like his body language and demeanor walking back to a huddle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So these are just things that it like, I guess in the back of my mind, it's like reasons why I don't feel great about him.
Joe Thomas has said this, and again, it's not fair to compare Jed Wills. Well, you got to live up to Joe. I mean, Joe Thomas just went in the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the best to ever play the position. Forget about just here in Cleveland. But what I wonder with Jed Wills, and Joe has talked about this in his career, post-career, like the great tackles, certainly your technique's good. Certainly you work hard and you're lifting weights, you're doing all that stuff. But you're also like studying tendencies. You're studying just like you would on a wide receiver. If you're a tackle, to your point, okay, let's explore that a little bit, because I do think it's worth exploring. TJ Watt's not an easy guy to block. Alonzo Highsmith's not an easy guy to block. So I'm not making it sound like, oh, well, if you just watch a little film, you'll be able to shut him down. Good luck with that. But is he even doing enough of that? Is he doing enough? And you know what? I hope Tuesday gets here and people are calling in, or people are emailing or tweeting or texting or whatever the hell they want to do, saying, aha, now you got to shut up about Jed Wills. I would like nothing more. But if somebody says, what is your biggest concern? And I feel great about this game Monday, but if they lose, if they fall, the storyline, I'm convinced, is Jed Wills had a horrible, horrible game. Not even so much DeJuan Jones, Jed Wills. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but and I could be. I absolutely, and maybe he plays not his best, but the Browns are still able to win, and that's a credit and a testament to a team that, if you're a championship caliber team, you find a way to win, and they have a defense that is championship caliber, and I think they're going to show up. So maybe they still. I like them to win this game on Monday, but that is the thing that I really, really worry about more and more and more. And we didn't really talk about it during training camp because we were all focused on, well, is Cade York going to be – can Cade York make the team? Can Cade York make kicks? So, like, all of our focus was devoted to that. And then it was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's still an issue on the offensive line. He's still an issue on the offensive line. I don't know.
Chico, I know you're talking about Jed, but you mentioned as far as the defense goes, you expect them to step up. And there was a little piece of insight that I heard from the Browns sideline reporter, Gerard Cherry, who was listening in a lot of times to that defense and observing them. And he was talking about how basically those guys, their communication is unlike anything he's ever seen before, in terms of they're all pointing out their responsibilities prior to plays. And then also apparently they're like required to celebrate anytime there's a big play. It's like an actual rule for the Browns defense that you have to celebrate. And I think the guys are really buying into that, and they're embracing it, and they're all loving it. And so you see a certain enthusiasm with them that I think has been that hasn't been in that. They haven't had that sort of atmosphere in that locker room before.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of reason to have optimism in terms of that defense.
And they're playing for
being
each
reliable.
other.
Yeah.
Like I always, it's funny. We had Joe on. I'm going to mention him again here. Just prior to him going into the hall, and it was preseason. But I asked him about, what's your why? And, every guy has their own, what do you love football? Do you love, and are you playing, for that guy next to you? Like, remember Deion Sanders and that inspiring speech, and we all kind of laughed and rolled our eyes, and yeah, they won. And I'm not saying this was the reason they won and have been off to a good start, but like, did you see how much he emphasized you're playing that guy next to you? That's who you're playing for. Like, that is contagious. And when a team gets that, you've gone to another level. And I feel like this defense now is like, that's where they're going. I mean, like Miles he's going to dominate regardless. I think Miles loves the fact that, like, if Za'Darius gets home, great. Like he said about the first play of the game, he goes, I thought I got there in a decent amount of time. I look over and Za'Darius has already hit his arm. Like, whoa. I mean, that is a big deal, playing for each other. And that's something that you can talk about culture all you want, but until guys are playing for one another and do legitimately love the game of football and love playing for one another, you're not going to have that. I think this unit has a chance to be very special in that way.
As far as Miles goes, I saw that he had I stumbled upon some statistic that he was double teamed less than his career average in week 1, which is just a testament to the depth of that defensive line and how talented they are. And I think that that's a trend that we're probably going to see continue.
Does Dan Moore wear depends for the game? I mean, 75 out of 75. Like, you didn't
he
just
can't be that bad, right? Is it really that bad?
He can be, and well, he was.
Steelers, you knew this was a problem. You knew you had to shore up that line.
But they
and
did.
You're telling me you're going to trot out the worst offensive tackle in football.
Boom. They did. They drafted Broderick Jones. They brought in, now on the one side, they brought in a mauler in the run game. But again, that doesn't do you any good if you're not really able to run the football, because San Francisco jumped out. And that's the other thing that was alarming. It wasn't just, oh, my God, our offensive line. I mean, it was Brock Purdy finding Brandon Ayuk and just kind of Christian McCaffrey. Remember Mike Tomlin said last week, he's like, yeah, we better make damn sure that we're good in space and we practice being good in space, because if we're not, we're going to get embarrassed by one of the best in the game, and that was McCaffrey, and he had, 160 yards on the ground? Whew.
Yeah, and I also think Patrick Peterson gave the 49ers some bulletin board material when they said that they had their offense figured out, they knew their signs and everything, which is not the same thing as Baker Mayfield saying he figured out their signs by halftime. When you actually come out to the media and say, yeah,
Baker
we
calling
know
out
his
the
tells.
Astros. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, he apparently he just dissected them.
So are you still standing by your – I mean, the highlight of yesterday's show, as sad as I am to say this, was you trying to tell us all that Mike Tomlin complimenting the secondary was a slight on the defensive line.
Should I have clipped that?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, you don't need to. I'm sure they've got it all over their bulletin board, because obviously what a slight. No. By the way, we have an update. Eric Asilius will be joining us top of the hour at 1:00. So EK, I'm telling you, man, he's a good one. He's a good egg, as they say. So we'll talk to what, Bohm? Yes, I know you're.
EK is woo worthy.
Thank you, Bohm.
Woo!
Thank you, Bohm. Oh, Christopher. All right. EK at 1. We got Fair or Foul coming your way next. The Chico Borman Show rolling till 2. Where else but right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back. Chico Borman Show on a very pleasant, I would say, very pleasant Thursday afternoon off the shores of Lake Erie as we broadcast live here, our Big Play Studios at Burke Lakefront Airport. Boom, you look like you were like swaying. There was some steam coming out of your ears. Were you looking to say something to that remark, or are you just preparing for fair or foul?
Yeah, I'm just gearing up mentally for this edition of Fair or Foul.
Okay. Yeah. It is a big deal, so hopefully you'll be able to answer the challenge. Speaking of answering the bell, how about my buddy EK? Originally scheduled him for 12:15. He texts me and says, hey, man, I had an emergency. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. 10 minutes later says, you know what? There's a possibility I can do it at 1. Text back again. I can do it at 1. He will join us at the top of the hour, talking fantasy football, talking NFL Week 1 and looking at Week 2, because that's just who EK is. All right, so we'll do that with him, top of the hour. But right now, it is time for Fair or Foul. All right, Boom, what you got?
All right, Chico. Well, where I wanted to kick things off was so a New York radio host, Michael Kay, and this is where I was flustered. Was I forget where in New York, like which station to credit him? So apologies to Michael Kay.
Probably the fan, right?
It might be ESPN New York. Like whatever, but one of those two, probably more than likely. Anyways, he reported that Giants head coach, and if you recall, the Giants got absolutely pounded to smithereens by the Dallas Cowboys, 40-0. So Michael Kay reported that Brian Daboll threw a huge party at his house the night before, like Saturday night. Now, I don't know if players were there or anything. All I know is that it was reported he threw a huge party, and he later went on to say, if you're going to throw a huge party like that the night before, like, a national game, you're probably pretty confident. You were not expected to
Now, wait a minute. Yesterday, I had to verify a Dabo Sweeney.
I got this from an actual news outlet, not Twitter.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
No, well, that's pretty much it. Just the fact that, like, I was kind of astonished to see that Brian Daboll, like, I felt like he's a great head coach, but then you came out and you totally crapped the bed. Fair or foul, Chico, do you think that this party will have a little bit of blowback from the Giants Nation?
A ton, and it should. I mean, and Daboll, to your point about, this is a guy that's really, like, supposedly buttoned up, and we do things a certain way, and I mean, tell me there's more to this. Like, it was a party for his kid who just made his first communion. I mean, you're not throwing a bash the night before. First of all, don't you usually stay at the hotel? A lot of times the home team I don't know what they do in New York. I don't know what Daboll does, but were players at this thing?
That I don't know. It didn't go into detail about, like, who showed up, but I know that it was Brian Daboll.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing. If they win the game, he had a party. I still think you're asking questions, but no big deal. But they didn't win the game. They lost the game. They didn't just lose the game. They got their asses handed to them 40-0. I've got to. This is the first I'm hearing of this, Bo. So I've got to check this out myself. I find that absolutely, not only for any coach in the league to do it, but Daboll doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would, like, that would be, who would do that? He's no longer Cliff Kingsbury. Like, if you heard last year, like, oh, Cliff Kingsbury threw a freaking an 18-kegger before the, okay, he's kind of an idiot. I mean, he's not a head coach, really. Daboll? Wow.
Be better.
Yeah.
The actions of a pompous man. But anyways, we commence forth on today's edition of Fair or Foul, Chico, and I want to shout out Ronald for making my job a little bit easier today with his contribution to this Fair or Foul, and I think a very relevant question. Chico, the people want to know, fair or foul, the Vikings plus 6.5 tonight.
You got to wait until EK, top of the hour. He's a qualified...
Get the real expert in here?
Gambling. I mean, Yeah, every night at 6 o'clock on CBS Sports HQ, you get them. So, I mean, if it's me, considering how bad Philadelphia looked and played, I would go Philadelphia covering. That is a lot. I mean, the NFL, like, spreads to me matter more because you don't get many blowouts. Although, tell that to week 1. Yeah, you have to wait for EK.
All right, Chico, quick follow-up on that because you're right. Philadelphia did look rough coming out of the gate.
That was your big thank you because I mean, were you struggling that much with fair or foul that you needed?
I mean, he asked it.
That
was
was
yeah,
nice
I guess
of him.
that's a worthy question to ask.
That was nice of him. But
Yeah.
I would say wait till 1.
Sure.
Don't give away
he literally phrased it as fair or foul, and this is fair or foul. So
Thank you.
the timeliness.
I'm aware of the segment we're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That being said, Chico, I want to ask you as a follow-up, is it fair or foul to I mean, we've only seen one game this season, right? And I've brought this up before, but the Super Bowl hangover for the team that loses the Super Bowl, it has happened in the past where they've come out and had a rough following season. Fair or foul, the Eagles could be experiencing a Super Bowl hangover right now.
I'm going to say foul. I mean, I think it was a variety of things in week 1. Okay, the elements weren't good. Now, again, I know it was that way for both sides. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, there's no getting around. Philadelphia did not look good week 1. It was at New England. They got off to a great start, and then they just kind of – and I think what happened was, you know, Jalen didn't look particularly great. Jalen Hurts. Maybe they got a little comfy up 16-0. But here's the thing about Philadelphia. They are so now they're missing, I will say this, they are missing 3 guys tonight, including the guy that handled the bulk of their rushing last week in Kenneth Gainwell. James Bradbury, I believe, is out too, if I'm not mistaken, and he's one of the best corners in the game. But I'm going to say, as far as the next year hangover, not Philadelphia. I mean, I think they're too much of a veteran-laden group. Guys like Jason Kelsey, guys like Fletcher Cox, even Jalen Hurts, who hasn't been around that long, good leader. So no, I'm not gonna buy into that. But now that I think about that, back to Ronald's question. Maybe the Vikings plus 6.5 is a good play. No Bradbury and no Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know. Have to
DeAndre
wait.
Swift.
Have to
And
wait.
it's you.
Have to wait for EK top of the hour.
All right, Chico. Well, let's move on because I saw something that was getting a little blowback, I guess, and you know how Ohio State Twitter is, right? Like they get all up in arms.
I know
over
how
everything.
you are, so yeah, that's basically Ohio State Twitter.
Oh, I'm only a microcosm of the capabilities of Ohio State Twitter, and by capabilities, I don't mean that necessarily in a good way. But anyway, so Nebraska Cornhuskers running back Gabe Ervin Jr. So the Huskers are hosting Northern Illinois this week, right? So Ervin during press conference says we're going to take every opponent as the same. We're going to treat those guys like they're Michigan. Now, it sounds like the big fuss that's being made in the Ohio against the world community is that Michigan is the new standard of the Big Ten. Fair or foul?
Okay, I'll go foul, but honestly, I don't give a damn. Like, I'm more concerned if I'm an Ohio State fan. I want to see the secondary against a good test. By the way, Bill Landis will join us tomorrow, breaking down Ohio State and Western Kentucky. And then you got Notre Dame the following week. They named Kyle McCord. Like, I just think there are bigger fish to fry right now than Nebraska, a Nebraska player mentioning Michigan. Like, it's kind of like the people that get all torn up about power rankings each week. What? Oh my God, what? Like, is it really that big of a deal? Does it really, does it cause people to lose sleep because a running back for Nebraska said, we treat every opponent like Michigan? Like, who cares? I don't know. I mean, now here's the thing. I mean, I know you do. Like, that bothers the hell out of you because you're the same guy that is bothered and feels that Mike Tomlin was disrespecting the defensive line when he said, I think the secondary won the game for the Browns against Cincinnati. That was
It's not what he said, Chico. It's what he didn't say.
Okay. So I know you're upset about that. You know what? Better yet, let's just call it what it is. Boom, that was not you. That was not Buckeye Twitter saying, we're upset about it. That was you pawning it off on Buckeye Twitter. That's how you feel.
No, I saw a couple of troll posts and some feedback.
I don't know why they would say Michigan and not Ohio State.
No, honestly, I thought you were going to say fair because, frankly, U of M has the upper hand over Ohio State right now. They're the team that...
I mean, Ohio State has been the standard for the Big Ten, but, and lately against Michigan, no. But, as far as... But, I just don't... I don't know if it's... I never even got excited about this when I was younger. So it's not an old thing. Now, the reality is, though, Bohm, I have friends of mine that were just like you. They would be seething about this during the day. It would occupy space in their head.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting too hung up on it when you got all this other crap going on. I'm hanging in.
Yeah, you've got a lot of...
But that being said...
I'm sure
Chico,
you got a lot of things to tackle right now, Bohm.
Yeah. Well, moving on this edition of Fair or Foul. I'm kind of on the fence about asking this one because you just bashed power rankings, and then I was going to go to Stephen A's power rankings.
He has the Browns 4, doesn't he?
That he does. I also thought it was interesting that he had the Eagles 5 after, like you talked about, kind of a slow start to the season. I suppose I can't blame him because they were in the Super Bowl last year. But with that, Chico, I want to ask you fair or foul. The Browns could become media darlings again.
Foul. Getting respect from the media for how good they are, and yes, media darlings. No, people aren't gonna. They're not gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and they're not gonna like them per se. A lot of that has to do with Deshaun Watson. And don't blame me. Don't blame the messenger. This is the way it is. But again, I'm going to say it. Who cares? Embrace that underdog role. I don't need the national media saying, oh, well, I thought the Browns were good, but I was watching this dude out of Omaha, and he said he's got the Browns 19th in his power ranking. I don't give a damn about that. Not even a little. Power rankings. I was hearing somebody say the other day that, well, the power rankings, when they come out each week, they should be how you played that previous week. Just that alone. Well, that's not what power... It's also about, okay, how good you are versus... yeah, you're probably going to drop if you played like crap, but you're telling me if you had a bad week 1, you go, if you're Philadelphia, you go all the way down to 22? People get so hung up with these things, and I just don't understand it. Help me understand why people put so much stock. Now, I could see if it's a college football poll where it weighs into the equation as far, but NFL power rankings have no bearing on where your team is going as far as the playoffs. Zero. Who cares?
Chico, I can see how it feels like a slight from a Browns fan perspective.
Yeah, okay, but why? Why? Who cares?
It is disrespectful. It can be disrespectful.
Why? Disrespectful.
I'm not saying that I care, Chico. I'm just saying I could see why some fans feel that way.
No, I can't. It's stupid.
Have some empathy.
No, I don't have empathy.
So obtuse?
If you are that freaking enamored by power rankings, and you need to find better things to do in your life. You need to find more people to care about. You need to get a pet. You need to. I'm not saying don't take the game seriously. Yeah, that's your team. But a freaking power ranking? Who cares? Go. God.
All right, Chico, well, moving on. Interesting quote from Giannis that he gave on an NBA podcast
Yes.
where he said, quote, "I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner." And then he later went on to say, "If there is a better situation for me to win to Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation." Fair or foul, Chico? Because Giannis has said, like, he doesn't want to work out with other players from other teams, and he doesn't want any of that conflict of interest. But fair or foul, Chico? Giannis is gone.
Can you imagine if Donovan Mitchell said that? Oh. I wonder, I would love to know what Milwaukee fans are saying. I mean, Cleveland fans were upset because Donovan Mitchell was simply teeing it up with Allen Houston, for God's sake. Giannis said something that might be a little bit much. If I think now again, I know you're trying to send a message to your front office and all of that, but that might have been a little too much. Like now you are trying to not only strike fear in the front office, but in the fan base. Donovan Mitchell didn't do that. So I hope this is actually, let's use this as what is and what isn't reason to get upset about a player's comments and or actions. Donovan Mitchell has said nothing even remotely close to what Giannis said about if another team gives me a better chance to win the Larry O'Brien. He hasn't even remotely come close to that. So all of you people that are trying to read in, again, it's the same thing with power rankings. Where do they have us? Donovan Mitchell's playing golf with who? He likes what? Stupid.
Yeah, Chico, I mean, hearing that from Giannis, if I'm a Milwaukee fan, I'm shaking in my boots. Like, that's deeply concerning, and he's putting the organization on blast, on notice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like, I mean, Milwaukee, I feel like the offseason's already basically over.
Yeah,
like their hands are tied.
This isn't a horrible team, by the way. But I mean,
no, definitely not.
I think right now you're seeing other teams. I mean, it's competitive. I mean, it's tough. So, you're not going to – I don't think any club is just going to have a sizable lead in terms of being able to claim the favorites to win it all. But, yeah, that does seem a bit much, and that seems almost personal with somebody in the front office. Jimmy Haslam is now part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Maybe this is all Jimmy's fault.
Dag nabbit. No.
And that'll do it for today's Fair or Foul.
That will do it for today's Fair or Foul. Thank you, Bone. We will take a break. When we come back, Eric Casilius, CBS Sports HQ. We will talk about tonight's game. We will talk about last week's Browns-Bengals game. And, yeah, we'll talk some fantasy football, stardom, sit-em, all that good stuff. Hit us up on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. My personal Twitter at Big Play Chico. Back with more and EK right after this on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show on this Thursday. Very pleasant day off the shores of Lake Erie as we broadcast live. Big Play Sports, Chico Borman Show here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Good to have you along. You can stream us live on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, also on YouTube, and also wherever you get your podcasts, and now streaming live on iHeartRadio. So no more excuses. You can hear us, you can see us if you really want to. But see, I'll tell you what happens, Bohm, is we get a serious spike in female viewers on Thursdays and whenever this guy joins us, and that would be Eric Asilius, CBS Sports HQ. He's going to be on tonight at 6 o'clock. For those of you, we've already had a guy, EK, that has checked in, and he said, hey, Vikings plus 6.5. I said, you're just going to have to wait until 1 for EK. So I guess we'll start there. What do you think about tonight's game?
Look, it's going to be a very public play to take the Eagles, right? The whole world is going to take the Eagles. And if you have the nether region to take the Vikings plus 6.5, then that's probably where the smart money is going to go. I think if you shop, you can get a 7. And that's a huge half point that you're crossing there. If I can get the 7, it would be the Vikings. At 6.5, it's a stay away from me. I'm using the Eagles in a 2-team parlay where I'm taking the Eagles and the Giants. So I have the Eagles all the way down to a half point, and I have the Giants at a pick 'em against Arizona. That's my play.
So Gainwell's out, Bradbury's out as well, right? Still,
Bradbury's out. They're also banged up. They have another guy in the secondary who's banged up. But look, last year, what you saw is Minnesota gets kind of dominated the trenches in this matchup. Minnesota center's out, so you're going to get pressure up the gut. And when you have a stationary, accurate, throw it on the dime quarterback, the ultimate of who was Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins being one of a whole bunch of other guys who are not Tom Brady. But the idea is they don't like the pressure coming at their face, right? They want to get back, get on time, and throw the ball accurately. They're not going to run. They're not going to avoid the rush. They want to get back on time, throw it. And when you pressure them up the middle, that's a problem. And with the backup center in tonight, you're going to see pressure up the middle. I'm a little worried about that. If I can get the 7, I'll take the 7. But I want to use the Eagles in a parlay at 6.5. When I see 6.5, I immediately think, I say parlay, I think 2-team teaser. Soon as I do that, I think teaser. When I see 6.5, because I can get that all the way down to a half.
Okay, now, Bohm, take this for what it's worth. Bohm brought to my attention earlier in the show, and no, we're not going to go flashback to last week. But Bohm brought up earlier in the show, he goes, did you hear this report from Michael K? And this is kind of where you're at, in that neck of the woods. Brian Dable threw a big old bash the night before the Cowboys game. Like, did you? What? I mean, EK, I know usually you're this type. Well, who cares? So he wants to have a part. But come on, man. The night, if true, the night before the season starts against an arch rival, you're going to throw a big bash. I mean, was this Animal House? Was he doing keg stands? What's going on?
Well, look, there are bashes and there are bashes, and you've been to both kinds. They're the kind where you wake up in the morning, like an Anchorman. I woke up in a family's living room, and they would not stop yelling at me. You had those. But there are other ones that, look, it's a big old party where you get a bunch of dudes over, you order food, you're watching the game, you may have a little music, you may do a little that type of thing, and then everyone goes home. And you're in bed at a reasonable hour. Look, to me, that is what is called results-oriented analysis, And I see this all the time in the Super Bowl. You get the week off. If the coach battens down the hatches and there's curfew every night and all this other stuff, if the team plays well, he got them focused. If the team plays poorly, he was too strict and didn't let them breathe. If you don't have a curfew and let the guys run wild, team plays well, you kept them loose. Team doesn't play well, you didn't have enough structure or discipline. If they had won 40-0, we'd be praising the party.
Okay, yeah, and I said that, but I also think, this isn't like Wow, the running backs coach comes out. This is your freaking head coach, Brian.
Do you think does he look to you?
What? Oh, we can't freeze him out now.
He's too hard. I'm back. I'm here. Are you
okay?
Here?
Yeah, we got you. Does he look like what?
Does he look like the type that is a party animal and is walking the runway in Milan?
No, which is why it concerns me. Like what just
I think he knows what he's doing. And I think they get back on track this week. And
they did look like he looked like he knew what he was doing Sunday night. They look good.
Look, they got their field goal blocked. They got a pick six. They fumbled as they're deep in their own end. They gave them 21 points. And it's because of the party that Dable was at the night before, right?
Eddie, if I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now. All right.
We're taking that RV. I'm taking that RV when I leave here next month.
I'm telling you, EK, speaking of, teams that did look good and your Browns, our Browns, that defense was Jim Schwartz and Miles. I said, when the debate of the week is, so do you think it was more about your front four or your secondary? Then you had a really, really good week. I'm not saying everything was perfect, but defensively, they looked good on Sunday. What'd you think?
Are you prepared to live in a world where if you win this week, the Cleveland Browns are 2-0, and
this isn't EK's fault. Can we get the damn bandwidth issue solved, please?
Really? Can you do? Is it me or you? It might be me. I don't know anything about it.
I don't. It's not you.
Me, I apologize.
I'm getting upset.
All right.
George is getting angry.
Here's what I'm saying. George is getting upset.
George is getting upset.
Look, well, is Chico prepared to live in a world where you guys are 2-0 and you have beaten the Bengals and smashed them, and you walked into Pittsburgh in prime time and beat them, and you're 2-0 in the division, and you've smacked both of those teams around? Are you prepared to live in that world, Chico?
Not in 30 years have they been 2-0.
That is astounding.
It is. Yeah, I know. See, that's the problem with these numbers is like people say, wow, that's really good. And then they're like, wow, that's really pathetic at the same time. But, they looked really good. Here's my concern for Monday. I said I feel really good about Monday, but, the obvious. Mike Tomlin, great coach. Place is going to be rocking. They're going to have revenge on their mind, or not revenge, just, want to get that bad taste out of their mouth. But there's a couple things I can't stop thinking about with this game, and actually both of them come down to the respective defenses. Dan Moore, you're a stat geek. Dan Moore, no offense to Dan Moore and his family, but there are 75 offensive tackles in the game last week in the NFL. And Dan Moore, Jr., maybe it's senior, it doesn't really matter, ranked 75th out of 75. Kenny Pickett went down 5 times, 10 more hits. Miles Garrett's but then at the same time, I'm worried about Jed Wills, and I'm worried about a rookie and DeJuan Jones having to be in there with Jack Conklin out. So I think that's where it's going to be won or lost, EK.
Yeah, right. The word I'd written down was Conklin. I mean, you got there, and I knew you were. I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about it all week. What's this offensive line now? This was an elite unit. How much does it hurt more in the run game? Does it hurt more in the pass game? And then the second thing is, at some point, 4's got to be great in a game. I mean, they won last week, but you mentioned it. Who was better, the defensive line or the secondary? You're not saying, hey, the quarterback was amazing. Like last year, at some point, 4 needs to put that city of Cleveland on his shoulders and go, it's mine. We talked about that he would rush for touchdowns, and he got one. And I said, take the prop rushing touchdowns over for the year.
Yes,
he's going to have a whole bunch. All right? But at some point, You got to go on the road when you're wearing the white shirts, and you got to walk into the den in the belly of the beast to somebody in a game that's a pick'em game functionally or less than 3 either way. And on third down, he's got to throw an absolute couple of dimes to Elijah Moore in the slot or Njoku or Amari Cooper over the top. At some point, he's got to be the one when the Conklin replacement breaks down, he evades the rush and then scoots around the corner a la Mahomes and runs and then gets out of bounds right before somebody touches him. He's got to win the game one of these weeks. You can't ask Myles Garrett and the defense to do it every damn week. I mean, sometimes it's going to be 19-16, and you got to win it because he's got to make a couple of plays. I want to see that this week.
He is Eric Casilli of CBS Sports HQ. You can catch him tonight, CBS Sports HQ at 6 o'clock. He'll be talking about, much of what he's talking about right now, tonight's game, and prop bets and all that good stuff. Hey, by the way, you're the perfect guy to weigh in on this. Did I hear right that some gambling companies were, like, when Rodgers went down, they took Rodgers' prop bets off the table? Like, how does that work? Explain if you know.
All right. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will refund a goodwill bet. All right. Just for publicity. And if they're not really don't have that much exposure either way, that kind of thing.
Right.
So they may go to somebody who they may say to everybody who bet Rodgers over touchdown passes or yards, dude, you got 4 plays. I mean, we're going to refund that bet. You know,
okay.
They probably didn't have any huge bets. It was a lot of what they call $20 bettors, and they want to make sure that you're feeling good and still playing with them. And so they'll go to all the $20 bettors, which is, couch cushion money for them. And they'll go, we're not going to count that. We're going to give you a credit. They don't actually give you the money back. We'll give you a credit on our site or at our casino because you only got 4 plays. And even though technically you lost the bet because it's a season-long bet, we don't feel good about keeping your $20 there. We'll let you play with that again.
Okay.
Smart.
Let me say this about the unfortunate. I don't care whether you're a fan or not a fan of Aaron Rodgers or a fan or not a fan of the Jets. I mean, that sucks. But the one thing that I don't want to say find funny because it's almost like evil to say this, but like we're all talking about, hey, is it Zach Wilson or could you bring in and because you got a good enough team. The bottom line is, EK, you brought in Aaron Rodgers to be the final piece, hopefully to get you. I don't care who you bring in. Like, I don't know who that is unless there's somebody we don't know about that's going to just waltz in there. And the AFC is too tough. The AFC East is too tough. Whether it's Zach Wilson, whether it's Joe Flacco, I don't care who it is, they're not going to it's not going to happen for them. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. You agree or disagree?
No. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not willing to put that fine a point, that final and a period at the end of that sentence. They are minus 200 to make the playoffs. And so, I mean, I'll kill you with the odds. Basically, they went from like 60% to make the playoffs to now 30% to make the playoffs. They're 70% to not make the playoffs. I look at that roster, and that's a pretty damn loaded roster from 1 to 52.
Sure.
Now, 53 is pretty important, right? I mean, saying other than the quarterback is a little like saying other than the shooting, how did you like to play, Mrs. Lincoln? I mean, what the hell, man? You guys know this better than anybody. You don't have a quarterback, it's kind of hard, right? Well, other than the quarterback, we're good. All right. Yeah, all right. Other than that giant hair in my sandwich, it was delicious.
And that's my point. Like, there's nobody else that's going. No,
So
if the
can
AFC,
you get it?
Go
Can
ahead.
you get it so the kid doesn't lose games for you? Now, look, last year, you guys know, he went in and beat Pittsburgh in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And was great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking him to win games. The question is, are they going to be a team that can't score more than 14 points a night? We'll find out.
In the
That's gonna
AFC,
be
here's what I would say. If this is the NFC, I'll buy that. In the AFC, no, it's just too tough. I mean, I hear what you're saying, like on paper, and you hear this all the time. Like, well, just don't lose it for us. Here are the keys to the car. Don't crash it. But this is the AFC. I think it's I think I am going to be that emphatic about it, EK. That emphatic.
Yeah, look, their schedule, the first 6 games is brutal. And I'm saying get me to the bye. Just get me to the bye. Can I go 2-3 in the next 5 and get to the bye at 3-3? If I can get to the bye at 3-3, the second half of the schedule is not nearly as daunting. If you look at it, if you have it up, I have it near me. I can grab it. The next 5 games, they're favored in one of those games, and it's home against New England, and it's almost a pick 'em. So you can't go 0-5. Even 1-4 is going to be tough. But 2-3 is going to provide a lot of hope going into the bye if they're a 3-3 team with a bunch of easy games in the back end.
Bill Belichick against Zach Wilson. Sign me up.
I'm seeing ghosts. Yeah.
Sign me up. All right. Before we get to fantasy, and I know you got to go soon, and I appreciate it. Again, Eric Casilius, CBS Sports HQ, joining us. Of the contenders, I mean, we look at the Los Angeles Chargers. We look at, the Buffalo Bills didn't look particularly good. It is only week 1. All we do is overreact. Was there something you saw from one of those teams expected to be great this year that could be alarming and could be a tell of sorts?
Nope. The only thing I look at in week 1 is injuries. That's it. Only thing I look at week 1 is injuries. Other than that, I'm not going to react. And I point this out. Last year, week 1, the Bears beat the 49ers. The Bears ended up as the single worst team in the sport, and where they were on the clock for the number 1 pick, and the 49ers ended up in the NFC Championship game. Jacksonville lost week 1, playoffs. Cincinnati lost week 1, playoffs. Cowboys lost week 1, playoffs. I don't care about the result. There's no result in week 1 that is going to make me go crazy either way or change my opinion much. An injury will. You start losing guys for the year, whether it's Conklin, J.K. Dobbins. I watched the first 2 or 3 weeks. All I'm looking for is cluster injuries or important injuries. I feel differently about the Jets because of Rodgers. That is the only team I feel radically differently about because you and I have been doing this too long. There's too many weeks, and week 1 doesn't matter any more than week 6.
Jackson on Twitter at Fantasy EK. Jackson on Twitter says, and there's a lot here, so bear with me. 14-team PPR. Lost J.K. Dobbins for the year. Deontay Johnson for weeks. Aaron Jones for ? I won the first week, but do I trade everything or play waiver wire hero? I have Deshaun Watson, Chris Olave, Travis Kelce, Elijah Moore. What would you tell him?
Well, I'd say you lost some guys, but you played last week without Kelce, and you're getting Kelce back, and that was obviously your first pick in the draft. I would play waiver wire hero. There are guys to get. There are guys to piece it together. I don't know if Eckler's going to play this week. You grab his backup. I mean, maybe Justice Hill and Gus Edwards both didn't go. You can grab one of those guys. There's somebody to get. I mean, it's a 14-team league, so probably a lot of guys are gone. But, you can go grab the wide receiver for the Rams.
Nakua?
Shell necklace.
Yeah, I had no idea who that guy was. I honestly had no clue. Who he was.
I gotta say, Dave Richard from CBS was absolutely screaming his name all week before the game on every show. And I gotta give him credit. Just literally, that was the one guy he just kept saying over and over and over. Because we all kept calling him. I was like, Dave Richard loves the puka shell necklace. And that's the only I can remember his name.
So does
right?
Kenny
Nobody
Chesney.
Can remember my name. Right? Nobody remember. I don't care. Nobody pronounces my last name right. No one knows how to spell it. And that doesn't bother me. Right? Everybody knows you. Chico Borman. Coast to coast.
They lie.
Like butter on toast.
Do you know what Siri, when I say call Casilius or call EK, she goes, calling Q-Celius. Like, no, that's not it. All right, hey, real quick.
That's all I get. I can't get a better nickname than that from Siri with you. That's just how I'm in your phone.
You do show up. I told her that. You show up every week.
Thanks. It's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten from you. I'll tell you, that Casilius, he shows up.
Rapid fire. Derek says he wants to know Jahmyr Gibbs. I believe they play Seattle, the Lions do, or James Cook. Jahmyr Gibbs or James Cook, PPR.
I'm probably going to go Cook because he's getting more volume, and I think the Raiders' defense stinks. It's the Condor and 10 guys who could be your uncle. I mean, I can't believe it. To me, Denver was terrible last week on offense. Give me Cook, who's getting the volume. I don't think he's going to last 17 games because Cook's a little guy. They're getting him beat up a little bit. But I like Cook this week.
Okay, 3 more. George Pickens.
I'll go back.
George Pickens against our Browns. Deontay Johnson out. George Pickens for the Steelers or DJ Moore struggling with the Chicago Bears? It's tough. Did he freeze? Is he there? EK, you there? Yeah, you're there. So you got me?
I think I'm back.
Yeah. No, you're back. Yeah, I don't think that was on your end. I think it was on our end.
I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me.
You're going to have to hold it up picture-wise. Or you're going to have to model.
I wish I had a big face on a stick.
Yeah, that's exactly
George
right.
Pickens, DJ Moore.
Look at
George
Chico's
Pickens,
pipes.
DJ
Those
Moore.
things are getting big. He's been at the gym. Oh, my God. What is going on? Holy superset. Forget Holy Buckeye on the T-shirt. What are you doing?
I wore the Holy Buckeye just for you, EK. I knew you'd love it.
I can't hear anything, by the way.
I'm
riffing.
Damn it. What do we do? Boom. Do we know? I know you're being put to the test. We have a guest. Well, I don't know what's going on.
Maybe we troubleshoot.
We troubleshoot?
Have him leave the studio and rejoin, but
okay.
It should be connected. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to keep EK any longer because it's not his fault. EK, I'm going to wave goodbye. I had some more fantasy questions for you, but unfortunately, we've got an internet problem, or I don't know what the hell problem it is. It's annoying. I'll tell you that. It's annoying as hell. But anyway, I appreciate your time. You can't hear me, and we'll see you. All right. Can we please get the bandwidth thing figured? I mean, I don't ask for a lot, right?
I think that was on his end.
It was on his end?
We juiced up the bandwidth, and I'm not seeing, the numbers aren't in the red like they once were.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, plus, we had our studio audience watching. We don't want to do that in front of a studio audience. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more of the Chico Borman Show. It's all right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. It is the Chico Borman Show. And, hey, now I got the answers for, let's see, this is Jake, Matt, and another Jake. So 2 Jakes and a Matt had fantasy questions. We didn't have a chance to ask EK on the air, but I did get the answers off the air. So George Pickens or DJ Moore, he went with DJ Moore. Again, Pickens is going to be playing against a very tough Browns defense. Deontay Johnson is out for the Steelers, but he said no, DJ Moore against Tampa Bay. David Njoku against Sam Laporta from the Lions, and he said he likes Laporta. He actually said he's a little concerned about Njoku. That is he going to end up being like kind of Kyle Pitts? He's like, I love the guy as a player. I just don't know if he's going to get the volume that we all think or want and all that. And that's only 1 week. But so he likes Sam Laporta. And then, again, the second Jake, 3 guys, PPR, Marquise Brown, Christian Kirk, or Mike Williams. He said Mike Williams, emphatically Mike Williams, because he doesn't think Austin Eckler is going to play. That's a big one. Austin Eckler, if he's going to be out for the Los Angeles Chargers. So there you go. All right, so we got it done. Hopefully I wasn't too mean to anybody. I just, you know how it is, Bohm. It's kind of frustrating. We build up to the fantasy question portion, and we get people to chime in and give me their questions, and then I want to get to them, and it's, hey, do you, or, just frustrating. What's the matter, Bohm?
Technical issues are the worst. I've had them on tour before too. It's awful. You feel so helpless.
What do you do in the middle of a concert? Do they just have you start entertaining the masses? Do you go out and crowd surf for the girls? Like, what do you do?
I have never crowd surfed. My singer has. I've been on tours where there's been so we played at the Whiskey A Go Go, right? And this band that played that was on the stage after us in L.A. He did a stage dive. Well, he climbed up to the 2nd-story balcony, and he did a stage dive, and the crowd caught him, and he crowd surfed back to the stage. That was wild. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
I don't know if I'm buying you never crowd surfing before.
Chico, I'm not there yet. I'm not. It's too soon.
Too soon?
Too soon.
It's not like you're 18.
What I would love, it would be cool though, like if I could crowd surf mid guitar solo. I wonder how that would work out. That'd be good content.
Yeah, I could. I'm trying to think if I would crowd surf. Like I have more confidence going up in an airplane with the door never closing than I think I would trusting, because those guys are,
That's the thing, Chico, because there are times where people will crowd surf and no one's there to catch them. Everyone moves out of the way. You've got to be vibing with the audience. The time has to be right. You have to be in sync with that crowd.
And don't we also have to take into account, there's a lot of inebriated folks in that crowd. Like, even if they are paying attention, and they are in sync, not the band.
Is that Justin Timberlake?
Is that you? I'd be a little nervous. The guy's like, whoa, man. Who's that? What are they? Whoa. Oh, he's coming towards me.
Coming right at me.
Oh! All right. So there we go. Good stuff from EK. I am not. I wanted to get to that today, but I figured I'd wait with until Casilius joined us about the Jets. But I think I understand it's a topic, and yes, who are they going to get? They are not buying all into Zach Wilson. They might end up going with him, but they're scouring the market. But here's the thing. There are just some times, like when you lose a guy like Aaron Rodgers, it sucks. And I'm serious. Whether you like Aaron Rodgers, don't like Aaron Rodgers, like the Jets, hate the Jets, I don't know what Mike Greenberg's going to do the rest. I love, you know what? And it's funny we had EK because he used to be the fill-in. He was Greenberg when Greenberg wasn't there with Golick. Mike Greenberg with the Jets love is just enough. Like, bro, we get it. You love the Jets. You're a diehard Jets fan. You live and die with the Jets. Your mood changes by the minute with the Jets. We get it. We don't need to hear about it all the time. But, like, people like him, they're trying to hold on to something. Well, you know what? They can get this guy and just don't lose us the game. I'm just telling you that's BS, I think. If it's the NFC and they're playing in the NFC, okay, I can buy that. You're playing maybe in the NFC South on top of it, or what? Okay, I'll buy that. But in the AFC and the AFC East, no. You can't ask a guy to go out and just not lose us the game. You just can't. Like other years, yes. But we've been talking about it a lot as Browns fans. You're talking about a year, a season, last couple, but now it's at an all-time high. We've never seen a conference dominated like the AFC is dominant right now, and with the quarterbacks that are in that conference. It's just it's borderline ridiculous. So that's my thoughts on the matter. You all right, Boom? You look a little disheveled. Everything good?
Yeah, I need to shake off the technical issues.
That's not on you. I'm not blaming you for that.
No, of course not. I just what the
Yeah.
hell happened?
Yeah, Boom. That's I lost my temper. I apologize. No, I wasn't blaming you. I mean, sometimes it just happens.
I just don't understand it. Like, why was he not hearing us?
Doesn't it? Oh, maybe he was.
I can't wrap my mind around.
Maybe he was pretending not to hear us because that's
a good way to end an interview.
That was easier for him.
I did like his commentary though after the sound cut out.
He was complimenting the guns. I wore the Holy Buckeye T-shirt just for him because he's a proud Michigan guy. Like deep down, he doesn't like the Buckeyes, which is okay.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he got his he went to law school at Michigan.
Oh,
Undergrad at Brown. You know, he's that brainiac. Again, let me say this. Because I don't even know. I think I've said this in the past. Like, how do you become a member of the Mensa Society? Now, I'm not asking for me because obviously I won't be. But, like, how does that happen? Well, you can take a test. And one time, last year, 2 years ago, I had to ask him. I'm like, dude, what do you do to get in the Mensa Society? I mean, it's a very prestigious. You're a brainiac. And he's like, no, I didn't take a test for it. I'm not that much of an egomaniac that I would say, well, I think I'm smart enough. Let me see. On his LSAT, his lawyer test, he didn't miss a question. I don't know if I could do that on a state capitals test. And I know my state
I definitely
capitals.
couldn't.
How do you not miss a question on the LSAT, for God's sake? And I've never seen an LSAT. I never will see an LSAT. Maybe I will see an LSAT. I won't take it. But, like, that's that's beyond comprehension to me. But that if that does happen, and it happened for him, you automatically go into the Mensa Society.
Yeah, Chico, that's
staggering.
literal perfection in a world where everything seems imperfect.
That's. Do you care to repeat that there, Boom?
That's literal perfection in a world where everything feels imperfect.
We got to get that in quotes on the wall behind me. Like, words of, who's that? Oh, the great philosopher, Michael Bombastic. He said that. Hey, by the way, did you see this? A lot of talk about Deion Sanders these days, right? And a lot of it is very justified. I mean, whether you love him or hate him, and I feel like there's no in the middle with Deion. Personally, I like him, and I think it's because when I was growing up, like I never had seen anyone like him, And I don't just mean on the field, like that could dominate in football and was very good in baseball. And we're not just talking about like, oh, yeah, football, and then he rode the pine a bit. He was very, very good. Playoffs, very, very good. Now, of course, he's taken over Colorado and 2 wins, and we're coming. And I don't think he should have went off on Ed Warder, but this is – I don't know what to say. So Colorado's getting ready for Colorado State, right? Rams coach, Colorado State Rams coach Jay Norvell took a shot at Sanders' habit of wearing a hat and or sunglasses during news conferences, saying yesterday during his weekly radio show, quote, "I don't care if they hear this in Boulder. I told them, ESPN, I took my hat off and I took my glasses off. I said, when I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and my glasses off. That's what my mother taught me." Do you know what that means? Colorado's going to beat Colorado State, okay? That means Deion, because he's going to hear that. He'll tell you he's going to hear that, and then he's going to tell you, we coming. We coming. He's going to put another 3 touchdowns on Jay Norvell, and he's not going to feel bad about it. This is so okay, and I know. He's not your typical coach, and he's not for everybody. But if you're Colorado State's head coach, don't you have enough to worry about getting ready for Colorado in Boulder than worrying about whether Deion Sanders takes his hat and or his sunglasses off for a press conference? Like, what do you care? How does that affect you? It doesn't. It doesn't. And now all you're doing is giving a team that doesn't need bulletin board material, craves bulletin board material, you're giving them, well, bulletin board material. Deion is, first of all, I took my hat off. I took my glasses off. When I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and my glasses off. That's what my mother taught me. Well, aren't we all grown-ups? Like, who's he speak? Is Deion in a press conference? Is he talking to like a nursing home? Is he talking to 80-year-olds? I mean, it is weird. I mean, yeah, he wears a, but a lot of guys do that. I mean, it's just, would I do it? No. But when you're prime time, like that's all part of Deion, right? And this is part of the reason Colorado is a big discussion, a big conversation piece. Yeah, I know they've got to win too, but they're a big part of the conversation because it's Deion. And what Deion is about is he's always been a dominant athlete, but this is Deion. This was Deion, the same Deion in the mid-'80s, late 80s when he was with Florida State, and he had that big chain that had to have weighed, 38 pounds with a big medallion on it. And he's like, prime time. Like, that's what he is. Yes, Bones.
Chico, I don't know what the...
you weren't even paying attention there for a second. I didn't know if he...
I was listening to the bulletin board material given to Colorado. I think... I don't know what the spread is in that game, but I'm pretty inclined to log on to Tipico and take the over right now, Chico, because, I mean, it's just so stupid. Like, of all the college football programs that you do not want to feed any bulletin board material to, I mean, Colorado kind of strikes me as maybe the biggest, most glaring one.
So proud of you, by the way, company man that you are. Colorado is a 23-point favorite.
Oh, I'm taking that.
Yeah, it's in Boulder.
Deion's not going to let up on them.
No.
That, like, the ultimate disrespect to a supremely confident person like that just, like, you don't do that.
Well, I don't think, okay, is it the ultimate disrespect? No. But at the very end, this is the part that's going to bother Deion. I guarantee you this. This is the part that's going to bother Deion. The fact that at the end of the quote, you can stick around, our studio audience. At the end of the quote, he says, that's what my mother taught me. So Dion's going to say, oh, so you're calling out my mom? Not cool. Shador is going to say, not only did you call out my dad, but you called out my grandma. Here's another touchdown. Here's another over the top. Here's another us calling time out late in the game so we can score another one on you to make the score 63-7.
Chico, they're going to open up a can of whoop ass on him come Saturday.
You love to any opportunity that you can get to swear, you're going to swear.
I love it when you can open up a can of whoop ass. You know,
I love this too. Like the coach, I don't know who Jay Norvell. I wonder if he's related to Mike Norvell. Who's
I
the
pondered
Florida State.
that very sentiment.
I wondered the same thing. Yeah, thank you, Bo. I pondered that very sentiment. You kill me, man. You absolutely kill me. I was wondering the same thing, Chico. I pondered that very sentiment. So this guy, now keep in mind the setting for Jay Norvell saying this about Dion. It's his radio show. It's Colorado State. There was a live audience for his radio show, which was probably like a local sports bar or something. And the show's host, Colorado State football radio voice Brian Roth. I don't know if he's any relation to another very famous one, but it says the comments drew applause. You're welcome. The comments drew applause from the live audience and Brian Roth. The host was clapping. The host was clapping.
Man, if I'm a fan, I'd just be like cringe, like, ugh, why are you putting that out there, man?
But don't
give him that fodder.
They were clapping. But see, that's the thing. I think it's even funnier because then Norvell was like chest out
on his high horse.
I'd love to see this dude when he struts to midfield pregame, if he has the balls to do it, go to midfield and be like, "Oh, hey, Dion, best of luck today." Yeah, you know what? I want to see that.
Do you think he's going to remove his hat and sunglasses if it's a sunny day and he's wearing them before he shakes his hand?
I would say that Dion comes out there. He might wear 2 hats and 2 pairs of shades. He might, and you know, normally this is a situation where somebody would say, and with another coach, he's not even gonna, like, okay, yeah, he's gonna hear about it, but he won't care. Dion is not only gonna hear about it and has heard about it by now, he's using this. Like, this is what he does.
Chico, I know fair or foul is over, but I think it would be totally fair if Dion refused to shake his hand.
This is, as part of game day's visit, Norvell. Oh, wait a minute. Is this in Boulder? Yeah, it is in Boulder, I think. It doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, it doesn't. Norvell opened. Oh, now I got to. Hang on a second. I got to check this out. I think it's in. Yeah, it's in Boulder. Okay, it's in Boulder. I mean, that's gonna. Now I'm gonna have to watch game day. Not that I wouldn't anyway. I mean, we like game day, but I'm just saying, like, I want to see. All eyes are going to be on, and this is maybe Jay Norvell is going to be like, yeah, the reason I did that is to take the pressure off of my players. He might say that, but it just seems really. Again, let me read this quote again. So initially, apparently, the Colorado State football radio voice, Brian Roth, you're welcome. Apparently, Norvell initially said, I don't really want to talk about Sanders right now, but the interview progresses. Norvell opened up about the attention this week's rivalry matchup has generated. Shouldn't you just be happy about that? Like, no offense, Coach Norvell, or Norville, or however the hell you say your name. No offense, but, like, if Colorado isn't 2-0 and Colorado doesn't have Deion Sanders, game day is not covering this game. So, I mean, I guess you could look at it one of 2 ways. You could say, we're going to get our ass whooped and it's going to make us look bad, or, hey, we get national exposure and we'll be able to. I don't know. I don't know which one's better. I don't know if there is something better, but I don't get it. He then says that when asked about his comments, he goes, "No, it was great. I loved it." But our kids came out of those interviews really with a chip on their shoulder. They're tired of all that stuff. They really are tired of it. What are they tired of? You know what they might be tired of? The coach that won't be playing in the game that ticked off the players, including the coach's son, who just happens to be the quarterback. That's the guy that they're probably going to be a little, skittish on. Yeah, they're not. Thanks, coach.
See, Chico, now long term, I have to be worried that Norvell put his job in jeopardy because Colorado State, who's an alum from there, Ohio State running back coach Tony Alford, they could be coming for him.
Did you just look that up?
No, I knew that. It's in the past he's been a contender for their head coaching opening, but he's decided to stay at Ohio State. But, if they just keep up in the ante, at some point it might be an offer he can't
Did you
refuse.
bring that up just because you wanted to show off that you knew?
No, it's a legitimate concern. Like, I hope that Norvell keeps his job so I don't have to worry about Tony Alford getting a new
Do you think the Buckeyes would not be able to survive if Tony Alford moved
I think he's
on?
done a great job in that running back room.
He has done a great job. But, it helps when you have guys like, Travion. And how long has Alford been there? It's been a while.
It has been a while.
He almost wasn't he up for the Bears job? Or an assistant, or was he with
That's
the Bears?
possible to go
He was
again.
with the Bears, I think. I think when he signed on with Ohio State, he was actually an assistant with the Bears.
Yeah, he does have NFL experience. I forgot which teams, but yeah.
Boom.
Also, we did have a question courtesy of Ronald, and you can submit your questions on YouTube at the Chico Borman Show. He's asking if you think Colorado has a chance to make a playoff appearance this season, Chico.
Well, okay. The rubber's going to meet the road when they face. I think they have Oregon. I think Colorado is at Oregon, and then they're home to USC. Now, I'm not saying they can't beat both those teams. If they do beat both of those teams, and let's say it's of the convincing variety, then, yeah, I need to see more against the. Put it this way, they will have the backing. Like, they will have the, when you talk about the intangibles and to somebody, you hear this every year. Well, are they going to be, are they going to be with the favor of the committee? And they're going to have all of that because the committee's all about, we all know, college football, NCAA, sports, it's all about this. And, yeah, it's largely our entire world, but it's all about the money. Colorado's going to draw eyeballs. They're already drawing eyeballs, so it's going to draw money. If they are able to win those two games, and then they really take – they're already in – they're 2-0. They win those two, I would say, yeah. But I can't – I honestly cannot comment on – or I shouldn't say comment. I honestly can't say, yes, they're a playoff team until I see them against Oregon and against USC. I will tell you this, I can't wait for those games. I think they're both at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken.
USC?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in 3 weeks.
Oregon. Okay, so Oregon's
2 weeks. So after the Colorado State game, and then USC, I want to say it's the following week.
I think it's back to back. I think it's Oregon and USC.
That's a gauntlet of a couple games.
Oregon is on the road, and then home to USC.
That's going to be the big test too, because if Colorado does take down USC and Caleb Williams, I think that suddenly they are going to be in that discussion of this is definitely a playoff contender.
Does Lincoln Riley say, my mama taught me to take my hat off and my sunglasses off when I'm talking to people older than me? No, he probably doesn't say that.
Now, I just had another thought, Chico, and this is so obviously we see the Big Ten acquiring all these schools out on the West Coast, right? Does Deion Sanders suddenly make the Big Ten try to add Colorado to their conference and just continue their expansion?
At this point, I would say anything's anything's possible because I mean, yeah. I don't think it will happen, but I mean, at this point, why would I say that it's not in the realm of possibility? We consider how everything's going in college athletics. It's crazy. I mean, it really is. I know sometimes we overuse cliches or phrases, but college athletics, college football really, really is the wild, wild west. If ever there's a wild, wild west, it's college football.
And the Big Ten is giving major Veruca Salt vibes. They want it all. Did you get that reference?
Yeah. You feel good, Bo?
I'm surviving.
I think, folks, much like Jay Norvell felt as soon as he got that round of applause after saying that about Dion, I think Bohm being able to go Tony Alford knowing his alma mater and then that reference, I think Bohm, like you kind of feel like you want to just walk off like this. That was your walk-off shot. That was your.
It'll never be as great as remembering Charles Ali, pride of Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Here's Bohm again trying to show off. What's Charles Lee with Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Charles Ali, former Browns fullback.
Okay, what?
There was a time when at a former studio where I think former teammate of ours, Jay Kaufman, brought up Charles Ali, and I was like, I think I just casually said like, oh yeah, Arkansas Pine Bluff.
In reference to what? Oh, just you knowing the alma mater? Is that?
It was a proud moment.
Well, sometimes I'll tell you, you're one of my favorites. There are times though when you can take, and I'm not saying we had great momentum going in the show, but it's kind of like your P word from last week when we had, ironically enough, Caecilius last week, where you just kind of stopped it abruptly in his track.
It's got to be a Thursday thing. Every Thursday.
I will
pull the emergency brake.
Most of the time I look forward to Friday shows, but now I'm going to have to look forward to Thursdays the most just because God only knows what you might bring to the table to halt our momentum. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the Chico Borman Show. Thanks to Eric Caecilius. By the way, tomorrow on the show, another Eric, spelled E-R-I-C and not E-R-I-K. Eric Edholm will join us. He is tasked with doing power rankings. So I'm going to ask him how many death threats he gets from power rankings from fans that just feel like their mom's been insulted with his power rankings. But we'll talk to Eric Edholm with NFL.com and the NFL Network. We're also going to talk with Bill Landis. I'm sure Bill Landis would love to weigh in on Tony Alford and Colorado State, but we'll talk to him about the Buckeyes getting ready for Western Kentucky right before they get ready for Notre Dame. So Bill Landis tomorrow, Eric Edholm tomorrow, and of course you, and of course we get closer and closer to the Browns and the Steelers Monday Night Football. Browns looking to go 2-0 for the first time in 30 years. That's 3-0. And as EK said, and he correctly pointed out, you don't know whether to say like, wow, that's really cool or that's really pathetic. It's both. It's both. Boom, you're very cool. You can also be very pathetic. I can be very cool. I can be very pathetic. We're out of time for all of us here at Big Play Sports. Folks, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. See ya.